Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and today we are going to take the MD-11 on a lovely trip down to Johannesburg. We are going to leave Frankfurt at 5:45 in the morning and then we'll be landing at around 4 PM in Johannesburg. So, it's a little loud down here on the ramp and they're about ready to start loading our airplane, so let's go right upstairs and climb into the MD-11 and get ready for today's service. Alrighty. So here we are in the supernumerary area of our MD-11 and here's the cockpit. Our colleague is here already. She just went upstairs to start her procedures and now we are going to start ours after a quick review of our flight plan. So as always, let's start with the SimBrief PDF file over here viewed through Mozilla Firefox. Okay, so here is what our route looks like. We are going to leave Frankfurt, southbound runway 18 and then all the way south in almost a straight line down to Johannesburg. The significant weather chart is clear for the first third of our flight, clear for the second third, and then we got a couple of CBs here from the Intertropical Convergence Zone that I'm looking forward to see because those can easily go up to very high levels over here, and that is always a fantastic sight when flying over Africa in daylight. Now, for the local airport weather, got a couple of SIGMATs, which I'm going to disregard for the time being. Looking at Frankfurt, we are leaving in clear skies, 11 degrees, 1022, and then Johannesburg is also fantastic throughout the entire day. Temperatures up to 21 degrees today. Beautiful weather. Okay, so leaving at 3:45 UTC and we are going to arrive 10 minutes ahead of schedule, almost at the maximum takeoff weight of our MD-11, starting in flight level 310, and then we are going to climb 330, 350, and eventually 37 and 38 until we start our descent into Johannesburg. Now for our airport, or for our fuel, we got 96 tons plus taxi. If we call that 97, then we should be just about fine. Now the question is, do we want to take any extra fuel? And no, to be honest, I don't really think so. So we are going to take 97 tons of fuel for today's service. So let's go down into the electronic flight bag, type that fuel load in, so that's 97 tons. And then we can set the payload and the fuel, and with that we can also call for GSX to start our loading. And then let's get started with the cockpit preparation procedure. The logbook is checked, the circuit breakers are all in as far as we can see over here. Emergency equipment is all on board, weather radar is off. The fuel switches are down, parking brake is released for the time being, spoiler and flap handles are up, the landing gear lever is down, fuel dump and manifold drain switches are guarded, and the emergency power selector is off. Then let's go ahead and turn on the battery and the external power, bringing our airplane to life. I'm going to turn on the thunderstorm lights over here to get all the lights up, and then we can continue. So let's continue with the fire tests. Those are looking good. Then we don't really need the APU just yet, so I'm going to keep that off for the time being. Annunciator light test. Is again all looking good. IRS. And that is running the cargo fire test, which is looking good down there as well. Then let's jump into the FMC for a moment here. We got an MD-11F with a CF6 engine, the nav database is up to date. Okay, then let's go over into the dispatch page and import our flight plan from SimBrief and send that one to the FMC. Here it is, Frankfurt to Johannesburg. The coordinates are looking good, so we can initialize that IRS. Okay then, let's get started with our pre-flight procedure. So up here everything is checked, then the fire test is looking good, down here everything is set. We'll do the hydraulic pressure test, and you can bring up the hydraulic page for that. Test is in progress. If anything fails, we are gonna get to it. Emergency power is on, that's all set. Fuel gauges are looking good. Emergency lights on, no smoking on, seatbelts off, nav lights on, and logo light on. And then we can also turn the panel floodlights up, 1 and 2 and 3 if we're on it already. So going further up again, GPWS test is in progress, refueling is complete, so fuel use can be reset. Okay, leading us down to the main panel. The QNH from our pre-flight procedure was 1022, so let's dial that in. Traffic, data, airport, and VORs. We'll get to the FCU a little later. And this side is set as well. Okay then, moving down, the standby is still aligning. But the QNH is already set. Now let's go ahead and put in the takeoff. Auto brake into takeoff. The takeoff config warning is checked and looking okay. Then flight 15 is selected. We'll do the frequencies later. Let's get up those radios. Like this, the weather radar is set, squawk machine above 2000 is selected, transponder number 1 is correct, the middle is set, the right is set. Then let's also bring those displays up a little bit. Like this, and it has something on the miscellaneous, but that's just the doors, that's fine. That may actually be a little bit too much. Yeah, something like that. Middle position seems to work pretty well. Okay, that's looking fantastic. Okay, then we have all the stuff in here finished. So moving up to the side, oxygen test is looking good. The side panel is all set. The timer will count up, not down. And yeah, then we can move straight into the FMS and preparing everything down here. So, Johannesburg, Frankfurt to Johannesburg, alternate, I love to call it failed. You guys know what I mean. So, Lufthansa cargo, 82906, like this, flight level 310, 330, 350, 370, and 380, all of them. Okay, temperature up in cruise is initially going to be -49, and the average wind component is a tailwind of 12 knots. Cost index 30. Then, departing Frankfurt, runway 18 via the Aneki to Lima departure, and that's inserted, and then for the arrival into Joburg. For the time being, we'll plan the ILS Zulu, runway 03 right, via the Avago 1 Charlie arrival, like this. Okay, and insert. Now, let's go over to the emergency set. So, reference, pilot defined waypoint, Frax 3, and that'll be based on Frankfurt 176 and 25 miles. Okay, enter that. Fixed page, Frax 3. Like this. So, secondary flight plan, Frankfurt to Frankfurt. That's just to prepare the immediate return. And then sec plan, Frankfurt, sit, 18, insert. So straight ahead to Frankfurt X3, and the return is going to be to runway, let's just see what they have active. Departure airport details 25 center with information Quebec. Okay, so immediate return ILS Zulu 25 center. And Delta Fox 526 transition. Just gotta find the no star prompt here. Huh, doesn't exist. Am I just too blind to find it? Might as well be an option. Nope, doesn't exist. Okay, well then I just have to select some arrival. In any case, here it is, looking good. Okay, so the immediate return is programmed. Then let's continue on with the performance. One of the good things about flying freighters is that you know fairly early on what your final numbers are going to be. So block fuel, we have 97, zero fuel weight is 183.7, and that's pretty much as planned. Okay, and I'm simply going to accept those center of gravities here, like this. So, fuel figures. We got an alternate fuel, well, first of all, contingency 2.6. Then we can't change the alternate fuel in the MD-11 as I had to learn. Final 3.1, giving us 25 minutes of extra fuel, which looks fantastic for me. So runway slope and wind 0 and 0, and the outside temperature is 13 degrees Celsius. So acceleration and climb thrust both in 1400, and engine out acceleration 1900. Okay, so we got all that stuff. Then let's run over into the LAC. Electronic flatback, and we got Frankfurt runway 18, get the weather, get the weight, and calculate. So flaps 21, 38 degrees flex. So set, then let's move down here, flaps 21, like this, and then what do we have? 64, 76, 83. And that's the same down here. Okay, clean speed 285. And let's go into the thrust limit page here. We can do a climb 1D rate. Okay, lovely. So, last but not least, let's check the SID, which is fairly easy, because it's simply straight ahead. So, Frankfurt, SID, Aniki. So, looking for the Aniki to Lima. Here it is. Okay, so straight ahead to runway 18, 800 feet, Delta Fox 101 below 220 knots, and Aniki. And we got 800 feet, Delta Fox 101, 220, and Aniki. Alright, initial climb clearance to altitude 4000. So let's dial that one up. Here we go. Okay, so runway heading 176. Like that, and that's pretty much it. Cool. So, all the good stuff is in here. 7 minutes to go to our scheduled departure time. Then let's make use of that time and grab our IFR clearance. $22,035. Frankfurt delivery, Lufthansa cargo H29R6 heavy, request IFR clearance to Johannesburg, information Alpha.
I'm working on that clearance. Stand by.
Okay, working on it is something that always sounds good to me. Now what's our cargo loading doing? Last pallet coming in. Fantastic.
Lufthansa cargo 82906, clear to Johannesburg via the Eineke to Lima departure. Radar vectors Delta Foxtrot 101. Runway 18. Initial climb to 4000. Departure on 118.505 squawk 5265.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296 is cleared to Johannesburg via the Aneki to Lima departure, runway 18, climbing 4000, departure 118.505, squawk 5265. So here's runway 18, Aneki to Lima.
8296, read back correct. Ground is on 121.805, safe flight, sir.
121.805, Lufthansa Cargo 8256. Alright, so runway 18, Aneki to Lima, climbing 4000 and 118.505 is going to be the departure frequency. We'll pre-select that in a moment. Those click spots here are not very well positioned. Okay, 18505 and squawk 5265. Alright, fantastic. Then our clearance is on board, so let's get started with the takeoff briefing. So we are going to depart Frankfurt, runway 18, Aneki to Lima departure, initial 4000, MSA 4300, and extra fuel time is 0. Alright, thanks for that. No hotspots for our taxi routing, and the engine outset is straight ahead, Frankfurt X3. Climbing to 4000, well 5000 unless ATC approves 4000, which is below the minimum, which is above the minimum vectoring altitude, even though it's below the MSA. For an immediate return, anything where time is available into the holding, consider our options. We are very heavy today, and only for something that is immediately life-threatening, aka fire, we are going to make an immediate return, okay? And that would be on runway 25 center. Yeah, with the overweight landing procedure if time is available. Now for our standard departure, I've got nothing non-standard, I got nothing special, and I don't have any threats. At least not at this time of the day as well. Any questions? Nope. Alright, then that's our briefing completed. Okay, so back to the engine page over there. All the good stuff is set, and then I suggest we are going to go right into the cockpit checklist, which is gear pins removed, pitot-static checked, cabin signs on, FCP set, speed band 0 taxi, altimeters 1022, reading, well, 380, fuel 97,000 kilograms. So, system modes, auto, takeoff data inserted, auto brake, takeoff warning checked, flap takeoff selector, 21, cockpit checklist complete. Okay, that looks like we are pretty much finished, so let's get GSX to get us pushback and departure. 2 minutes to scheduled off block. Let's see, doors are all closed, the ground power can be removed, and then let's set our park and brake. And remove the chocks as well. So that all sounds good. Then let's go ahead and get our pushback clearance, please. Frankfurt ground, Lufthansa Cargo 8296, request pushback and startup.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, push and start approved. Face south.
Push and start approved, face south, Lufthansa Cargo 8296. Alright. Before start checklist, cabin secured, mobile off, engine ignition A, beacon on, system modes auto, park and brake set, before start checklist complete. So, ground from cockpit. Pushback and startup approved, facing south, and the parking brake is set. Release brakes. Brake released. Thank you. Start on the push and you're clear to start the engines. Thank you. We'll start in sequence 312. Engine 3 start. And while that's in progress, let's just close that door. And 2. Fuel flow EGT.
Delta Quebec Romeo Hotel Alpha ready to taxi to the active for VFR pattern work.
Oh, that's gonna be
Quebec
expensive.
Romeo Hotel Alpha taxi to runway 25.
VFR pattern work in Frankfurt. Okay then. Engine 1 start. Start a cutout, monitored 3.
Ground Lufthansa Cargo 8325 taxi to the ramp. Lufthansa Cargo 8325 taxi to parking via Papa 16 Papa November 11 November November 13.
Fuel flow EGT.
November 11 November November 13 Lufthansa Cargo 8325.
So, pushback completed, set park and brake. Park and brake set. Start a cutout, monitor 1 starting 2. Engine 2 start. Fuel flow EGT. So, they're finishing up their stuff down here. I really like how the MD-11 evolved. It became a really, really good airplane. I mean, look at this. The model overall is fantastic as well. TFDI have delivered. Have to give them that. Okay then, start a cutout, monitor 2, and 2 is stable. So, anti-ice is not required today. Then, tuck, tow bar, ramp agent, and pin after start checklists. That's APU, off, anti-ice off, system modes, auto, after start checklist complete. Lufthansa Cargo 8296, request taxi.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, runway 18 taxi via November North, November 15, November.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, taxi to runway 18 via November North, November 15, and November. Okay, out to the right, basically in a U-turn, and then we're pretty much at the runway. So, clear left side, clear right side. Okay. Taxiing too easily. Did GSX really load my plane? Let's just set that payload once again. Just to be 100% sure. Yeah, look at that. Suddenly we're standing. And need quite a bit more thrust. In other words, GSX had emptied our aircraft. Alright, good thing that we checked this, otherwise we would have arrived with like 30 tons of fuel on board. So we continue all the way with a right hand turn, and then we're almost at the holding point. The taxi model has also improved dramatically with this update. Fantastic job there. Okay, so flaps 21. So trim 10.5 units. Like this, and flight control check please. Full up, full down, neutral. Full left, full right, neutral. Radar is responding, I'm happy with that. Alright. Take off checklist please. Flight controls checked, flaps 21, spoilers armed, trim 10.5, 0 and 0, EAD checked, takeoff checklist complete. Okay, so to review the takeoff briefing, it's a left seat takeoff runway 18, flaps 21, noise abatement procedure number 2, speeds 63, 76, 83, and the sit straight ahead with a 220 knot restriction. And yeah, for that we have to keep the flaps all the way out. I've got nothing special, I've got nothing non-standard, and we will of course ask ATC to relieve us of all those restrictions. At this time of the day, VFR traffic is not going to be troubled either.
119.905 auf Wiedersehen.
119.905, Lufthansa Cargo 8296, tschüss. Frankfurt Tower, Lufthansa Cargo 8296, ready for departure.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296 Heavy, Frankfurt Tower, Gouda, runway 18, wind 010 at 4, cleared for takeoff.
Runway 18, cleared for takeoff, Lufthansa Cargo 8296 Heavy. Okay. So we are cleared for takeoff. Lights, radar, walk machine. And since the sky is completely clear, I am just going to keep terrain on both sides. Okay, are you ready for departure? Then take off. Stabilized. Auto flight. Thrust set. 80 knots. Checked. V1. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Select nav. And select... Actually, yeah, select profile.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, Frankfurt departure on 118.505.
118.505, Lufthansa Cargo 8296. Landradar, guten Morgen, Lufthansa Cargo 8296 Heavy, passing 2,400, climbing 4,000.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296 Heavy, Frankfurt departure identified. Climb flight level 100. Maintain present heading, vectors to Delta Foxtrot 101, then on course.
Climbing flight level 100 on the present heading, Lufthansa Cargo 8296. Okay, heading, and
Lufthansa Cargo 8296
level 100.
No one-on-one with President available.
What? Okay, I'm not even gonna ask. Alright, and since we're off the SID, we can start accelerating. So, speed 250, and flaps up. Speed checked. Why are you reducing thrust? Don't do that. Here we go, speed 250.
Climb flight level 210.
Climbing flight level 210, Lufthansa Cargo 8296. Set, 210 checked.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, can you repeat that?
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, request speed 285.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296 Heavy, speed 285 approved.
Speed 285 approved, Lufthansa Cargo 8296 Heavy. Okay, slats up. Speed checked. And here we go. Alright, that's pretty much... Ooh, what was that? That was quite the rapid response all of a sudden. Okay. Autopilot? So, is there any good direct that we could ask for? Yeah, why not ask for NATO? That's what you often get in the real world as well. Lufthansa Cargo 8296, any chance to proceed direct NATO?
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, you need to be below 250 knots. Lufthansa Cargo 8296, refer to filed route, no direct NASWA.
Okay, so shall we proceed direct Aniki, or what is your plan? And no comment on the speed, you just approved faster.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, proceed direct Aniki.
Direct Aniki, Lufthansa Cargo 8296. Nav. And profile and FMS speeds. Okay, we don't need that manual timer anymore since we are on climb thrust. Then let's have a look down into the FMS. ETA.
Cargo 8296, climb flight level 260.
Climbing flight level 260, Lufthansa Cargo 8296. Yeah, is that? 260 checked. Look at that lovely light inside here. That's fantastic, isn't it? And the sun starts coming up over the horizon. Fantastic. Sounds like a very good time to put up the visors. Like that. Like that. Okay, passing level 100. And that's it. So we are going to arrive on time. 14:10 or 14:15, something like that is the schedule. 13 tons estimated with a minimum that is at around about 9.5, so we have around half an hour of extra fuel, which we may need going through the intertropical conversion zone. We'll see about that, but for the time being, just sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And before we forget it, set standard. Standard cross check, passing 110 now. Okay, fantastic. So yeah, sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And then I see you all on the approach into Johannesburg. Enjoy the views of Africa. I'm absolutely sure you will be amazed once again. So, we are on approach into Johannesburg, and the weather is just as fantastic as we expected it to be.
Contact Johannesburg radar on 123.7.
So, our FO is going to call Johannesburg radar over here, and in the meantime we can turn on those fasten seatbelt signs, which is a signal to our third pilot here to return to the flight deck and take his jump seat as well. And yeah, then let's see what approach is going to say to us.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, Johannesburg radar identified. Good afternoon.
Okay, for the time just good afternoon, that's fine with me. So let's take a moment to talk about the approach that we are going to fly. So runway 03 is active, the wind is 290 at 9, so it is a slight bit of a tailwind here, but you can see that 03 makes a lot more sense due to the way that the airport is built. So that's that. Now let's go ahead and start with a look into the approach. It's the Avago 1 Charlie arrival for us, and that one is from Avago, 250 knot restriction everywhere, but ATC has relieved us of it, so we can accept that the plane is flying slightly faster at the moment. And then we are going down into a right hand, or into a left hand downwind, and eventually radar vectors onto the final approach. Now, high terrain in the area, 7,900 is the MSA all around, and I'd say we are going to talk about all the rest of it in the approach briefing. Also, we're at 10,000 AGL right now, so let's go ahead and get that speed brake out in order to slow the airplane back down towards 250 knots. So lights are coming on like this. Okay, fantastic. So let's take a moment to start talking about the approach. So it's going to be the Avago 1 Charlie arrival, MSA 7,900, and eventually radar vectors onto the ILS Zulu approach, runway 03 right. We are going to fly that approach down to a minimum of 5,717 feet, and the go-around is a right turn out, eventually climbing to an altitude of 8,000 feet. So straight at 8,000 right turn, expect radar vectors maximum 230 knots all of that is no problem for us here.
Direct Oscar Romeo 373, then as filed, please.
Okay, 373.
373, then as filed. Lufthansa Cargo 82906.
That's that one. Okay, next. And here we go.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906, speed 160 knots or less, traffic 10.4 miles ahead.
No, absolutely not.
Speed 160.
However, I have no intention of
Lufthansa
accelerating
Cargo
as this
8296.
thing is just doing. Here we go. We'll stay at 250. I'm absolutely not flying 160 knots at this point in time. We'd fall out of the sky. But let's talk about that now, and let's actually just quickly update the direct. 373. Here it is again. Okay, and extra fuel and time. We have 14.5 on board. The minimum required is, what's that, like 9,000, so we're looking at 5,000 extra, giving us approximately 40 minutes extra fuel. Alright, now for the approach, we are going to fly the ILS approach, runway 03 right with flight director guidance, flaps 35 and auto brakes minimum. We will, however, be using maximum reverse and vacate the runway to the left-hand side, probably on the last rapid exit taxiway, which I'm just quickly going to show you over here. If we absolutely need to, we got a stop margin of like 800 meters. But we'll just let it roll. Vacate Romeo 5, Yankee Hotel, cross 03 left, which is our hotspot for the taxi in, and then somewhere up here to the cargo apron. That's checked. And vertical speed 1000 to go. Okay, that's pretty much that part. So I've got nothing special for this approach, I have nothing non-standard for this approach. Threats, most definitely hard landing. Okay, back to FMS speed control. So, threats, most definitely hard landing. We are flying an MD-11. The thing is very fast.
82906, speed 230 knots, Embraer 191.9 miles ahead.
Okay, that sounds better.
Speed 230 knots, traffic in sight. Lufthansa
Speed
Cargo
230.
82906.
Okay, so, as mentioned, MD-11 is prone for flying fast anyway. Now we are at a hot and high field, and we are taking her down with flaps 35. However, I don't want to go flap 50 because the plane has the tendency to land harder on flaps 50 than flaps 35. So we're going to stick with 35. In any case, that's going to result in a very high ground speed on the approach, and we do not want to risk under flaring, respectively. We do not want, what that means is that we will be flying at a rather high vertical speed, especially since we have a little bit of a tailwind as well. So I'm expecting a vertical speed on final approach that's going to be somewhere around close to 1,000 feet a minute over here. So for the stabilized approach criteria, we can expect or accept a little bit more, up to 1,200 then. And yeah, I just want to avoid the airplane getting into a situation where we have a high vertical speed going towards the ground. Then we have less reaction because of the low density of the air over here in Johannesburg due to the high field elevation and the hot temperatures. And all of that combined could be a hotspot for a potential hard landing. So we'll aim to flare on time, latest by 40 feet, and then put it down nicely and smoothly onto runway 03 right. And I want you to call it out as early as possible, please, so that we're not going to mess that up. Okay. Nothing miscellaneous for the briefing. Do you have anything to add? No.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906, traffic no longer a factor, no speed restrictions.
Roger.
No speed restrictions. Lufthansa Cargo 82906.
But I'm not going to speed up anymore. That's not worth it. Okay. So, what's the transition altitude in this place? ATC still has us on a flight level here. 8,000. Okay. So the moment we get further descent, we have to switch over, but that's fine. Okay, so after 373 to Wake-up.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906, turn left heading 150 vectors for the ILS runway 3 right approach.
Left heading 150, vectors for the ILS runway 3 right approach. Lufthansa Cargo 82906.
Okay, heading. Okay, direct center fix, and you can make the course in of
Lufthansa Cargo 82906, turn left heading 110.
030,
Left heading
please.
110, Lufthansa Cargo 82906.
Okay, heading 110.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906, 10 miles from Charlie, India 03, Romeo. Turn left heading 085, descend, altitude 8,000 feet until established on the localizer. Cleared for the ILS runway 3 right approach. QNH 1026.
Left heading 085, descend 8,000 until established on the localizer. Cleared ILS runway 3 right approach. QNH 1026. Lufthansa Cargo 82906.
Okay, so set QNH. QNH 1026 cross check, passing 8,900 now. Checked. Approach checklist, please. System modes, auto, altimeters, QNH 1026. Approach checklist complete. So then we're cleared for the approach and land is out. Alright, once we are level down in 8,000, I'm going to start the speed reduction. The Fox India is where we are going to leave 8,000, so 5 miles for speed reduction should be absolutely fine. Okay. FMS speed. So, slots extend. Localizer capture. And then let's have some fun. So, manual flight, manual thrust. And look at how it shot through the localizer. No comment on that. So, flaps 15. And yeah, speed 180. Oh, look at that. Now all of a sudden it is responding and reducing the target speed. Okay. Back to FMS speed. But what is it doing? Like now it's back at 230? Makes no sense.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906, contact Johannesburg Tower on 118.6.
Switching to Johannesburg Tower on 118.6. Lufthansa Cargo 82906. Johannesburg Tower, Lufthansa Cargo 82906. Good afternoon, established on the ILS runway 3 right approach.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906 Heavy, Johannesburg Tower, roger, continue approach. Lufthansa Cargo 82906 Heavy, runway 03
After
right,
capture.
wind 290 at 9er, cleared to land.
Okay, the wind is unchanged, 290 at 9.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906 Heavy.
So we can expect that tailwind to last. Okay, flaps 28. And gear down, flaps 35.
Landing gear
It's on its way, relax.
25.
Okay, noted. Alright, we're clear to land. Landing checklist. Landing gear down for green. All brake minimum. Spoilers. Armed. Flaps 35. And waiting for the EAD. So, ground speed 192. That's exactly what I've been talking about. Now it's reducing somewhat. Okay, here's the EAD, and that is checked. Landing checklist complete. Checked. So, looks like the glide slope is a little bit off. We'll be landing just by the lookout side of the window. But look at that ground speed, 184 knots. That's the MD-11 for you. That's why this airplane is known to be such a bitch. Continue.
50, 40, 30, 20, 10.
Okay, speed break up, thrust was normal.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906. Welcome to Johannesburg. Contact ground
Manual
on
brakes.
121.9er.
Switching to ground on 121.9er. Lufthansa Cargo 82906.
60 knots.
Johannesburg ground. Lufthansa Cargo 82906. Good afternoon, cleared of runway. Ready to taxi to the gate.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906, Johannesburg ground, taxi to Cargo D3A via hotel, Charlie November, hold short of runway 21 right, then Alpha, Golf 9er Delta. Good day.
Alright. So, we needed the full runway.
Taxi to Cargo Delta 3 Alpha.
We
via
needed
Hotel
the
Charlie
full
November.
runway. Of course with the auto brake low, but you get why I did this.
Lufthansa Cargo
That was a
82906.
lot of energy. Had that gone into the brakes, the plane would be parked for the next 5 hours to cool the brakes down. Alright then, we're going to vacate the runway here, then let's get up on hotel, and once we're up here on taxiway we are going to clean up, and then going to figure out the routing to our gate. Alright, and it took us 10 hours and 1 minute to get here. Could have saved that minute, but definitely not on this approach. Okay. So that thing is off. That thing goes off. And weather radar off. Alright, and that's it. Welcome to Johannesburg. So next up we gotta find our taxi routing. But first of all, let's not fall down this bridge over here. That could have unintended consequences. We can wreck aircraft on private runways of STRIX, but please not somewhere down in South Africa, because we definitely do want to go home again as well. Alright, so our routing is via Hotel Charlie November. So that's over here, Hotel Charlie November, and then Golf 9er to Delta 6, which is gotta be over there. Alright, look at how we're losing speed once again. You even feel the hot and high conditions here on the... You even do feel that over here, just on the taxi. Obviously at 190 tons we are rather heavy as well, but you really do feel the impact that these conditions have on our aircraft. Okay, so we're going to the right here. Can feel how the brakes are losing a little bit of effectiveness here as well, because they got rather warm. Even though we barely did use them.
Lufthansa Cargo 82906, hold short of runway 21 right, Embraer 190 vacating the runway.
Okay. So we're definitely not going to do any reduced engine taxi today. We're now up here, northbound on Charlie, and then November is going to be next left, and that's where we are going to cross. Oh, getting a little fast here. Lufthansa Cargo 8296, can we cross runway 21 right? I don't want to stop. But looks like I have to.
Lufthansa Cargo 8296, hold short of runway 03 left, Embraer 190 on the runway.
Okay, still holding short. Then let's just set that park and brake here for a moment. So where is that Embraer? I don't see anything. Like anything at all. Lufthansa Cargo 8296, we do not see that Embraer. Can we cross runway 03 left? Not sure what the AI is doing here, but it's AI, so that's kind of expected. I'll tell you what, I don't care, I'm gonna cross that runway now, because there is nobody here. Can you see anything? There is definitely no Embraer on any runway here.
Globe 133 Juliet, ready to taxi.
Globe 133 Juliet, runway 3 left, taxi via Lima Bravo. Lufthansa cargo 82906, hold short of runway 21 right, Embraer 190 vacating the runway.
Nope. There's nobody here. Alright, so we are clear on the left. What the? Did you see that airplane topple over there? So, start APU. Strobes off again. So then, on to Golf 9er. And then into Golf 9er. Looks like we gotta climb a little bit uphill there, so let's just add a bit of thrust. And once we're up here, we gotta turn back to the right. And then our gate Delta 3 is at the end of the building here. So there it is coming. We have Delta 3 right. And lights off. APU is available, fantastic. And here is Delta 3 right. Okay then, nice and slow. Marshal is in sight. And stop. So, APU bleed is on, park and brake is set. 1, 2, 3. Okay, and here we are. So, engines are running down, beacon off, and IRS is all 3 off, squawk machine off, and 2000. Alrighty. That's it. Shutdown checklist, please. Or parking checklist. And that's exterior lights. Set, ANI off, step trim 2.9 ANU, system display status checked, system modes. All auto, spoilers retracted, slats and flaps up and retracted, fuel switches off, parking brake set, weather radar off, transponder standby, APU air on, parking checklist complete. Well guys, with that, welcome to Johannesburg. I do hope you like this one. I do as well hope that you have liked the views outside of the window. We don't really fly over Africa during daylight too often. Normally it's night flights because that's just more convenient for the passengers. But today, nobody cared because our airplane doesn't have windows anyway. So, thank you very much for watching. I hope that you have liked the flight with us. As always, leave your feedback in the comments underneath the video, like, comment and subscribe. And then I'm really looking forward to see you all again on the next leg of our journey.